We got one. For months, Miami Hurricanes fans have been asking, begging for a wide receiver in the transfer portal. Well, the Hurricanes just got one of the fastest guys available from the 205 to the 305. Welcome home, Tyler Harrell, and welcome to the
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and contributor to allhurricanes.com. And thank you so much on the weekend for making Locked On Canes your first listen. Thank you to the everydayers who are here day in and day out. Wow, things escalated quickly with Tyler Harrell. We've known for quite some time he's been in the transfer portal from the Alabama Crimson Tide, and it became official last night. He apparently got the medical clearance that he needed, and now the Columbus High School grad. So you got that connection there with Cristobal Mirabal and with Alonzo Highsmith. Tyler Harrell is a Miami Hurricane. 6 foot tall, 194-pound outside wide receiver. Played most of his college career at Louisville before transferring to the Crimson Tide last year. Fell out of the Bama rotation due to injury last season. Remember, when you get hurt and you fall out of any position group rotation in Alabama, it's hard to get your spot back with a deep roster like that. So he's on the move now to Miami. And folks, when we talk about speed, Tyler Harrell at a Louisville Pro Day a couple of years ago ran a 4.24 in the 40-yard dash. That's speed right there. We're going vertical. If you watch some of his best and brightest moments in college to this point, Tyler Harrell once scored a 91-yard touchdown in 2021 with Louisville, showcasing that game-breaking speed. And 2021 was his breakout season. He averaged 29.1 yards per catch that year. That's what caught Nick Saban's attention. And so Tyler Harrell is now a Miami Hurricane. To help us break this down and what it means for Miami's receiving core, we have the honor of bringing in, this guy has been such a friend of the show for so long, and he's now a colleague of mine at allhurricanes.com. You know him as Chalupa Batman. There he is throwing up that U. Corey Carmona. I'll just call you Chalupa if that's okay.
That works. It's Chalupa or CB now. Nobody calls me by my actual name anymore. It's now when at work when someone calls me Corey, I don't even answer. I'm like, who's oh yeah, that's my government. Sorry. All right.
So, all right, tell me your reaction when you saw Miami was adding Tyler Harrell. And you're like me and like everybody listening and watching this, except for, the FSU trolls who show up for whatever reason. They love listening to the show. You've been longing for Miami to add a wide receiver like this for quite some time, Chalupa. So what was your reaction last night?
It was pure excitement. At first, it was a little confusion because when the bat signal went out, I think we were all kind of like, what? Because usually we get them periodically throughout the day, and then they start throwing the cryptic ideas and the gifts, and you kind of piece together who it is. So at the time, it was, who could it be? And then we're trying to, you're texting everybody, trying to figure out who it is. But when it got announced that it was Tyler Harrell, it was a little bit of like weight off the shoulders. It was like, oh, okay, now we got I feel like we checked two boxes here. We got our guy on the outside that we needed, and we got speed. You said it in the opening. Coach Kevin Beard said it. We want to go vertical on people this year. To accomplish that, you need some guys that can take the top off the defense. Tyler Harrell can do that in spades. So it felt like a little bit of, like I know TVD did one yesterday too. I feel like we all at the same time just went, okay, now the receiving core really feels like it's come together. I think we were all pleasantly surprised with how they looked in the spring and in the spring game. Adding this last piece, I think, is just a chef's kiss, and it gives Dawson a bunch of different weapons he can use now. I am pumped for this.
Yeah. And so, all right, let's talk about the role that Tyler Harrell is going to play here in Miami. And I want to emphasize this again. It sounds like Harrell is now fully healthy, that the injury issues, I think it was a foot that gave him trouble at Alabama last year. That's now behind him, and he's going to be full go for the offseason program. He's going to be a full go when fall camp begins, which gives an opportunity to compete. So the spot that I look out for, Chalupa, I think the big competition is going to be between Tyler Harrell and Jacolby George for that outside spot opposite Colby Young. I think that's going to be the competition here. And so Miami fans and coaches are going to win here either way, because whether it's George or Harrell starting, they're both going to be on the field a lot, because this is one of the reasons why I think this offense is becoming more attractive to wide receivers. Now, some of these guys are like, I've got to see it to believe it, but I know the plan from Shannon Dawson is to go vertical and to rotate his wide receivers a lot, because Miami's getting now a lot deeper in that room. So whether or not Harrell starts, I think he's going to play a lot.
I think so too. I think with this offense, we're going to see a lot of different position groupings. I think we're going to see, imagine just a speed package for a second, where you got Harrell on the outside. You bring in Robby to be on the other outside. In the slot, you got Brashard Smith and then Ray Joseph. And then you put Skinner, maybe you go 5 wide, straight speed package, NASCAR full. And then he could go Harrell on one side, then he can go Colby on the other side, go Restrepo. We've got so many different groupings he can use now. But what Tyler allows us to do is it allows us to use our slot guys as slot guys. We don't have to play anybody out of position this year. Kind of a little bit of a thing we may have to do on the defensive line, where we may have to compensate a little bit, kick Mesidor in. That's something that we were all a little worried about during the spring. Can Restrepo really just focus on what he needs to do in the slot, or will he have to kind of play outside a little bit? Where does Brashard Smith fit in? Now I feel like with Harrell on the outside, with Horton, with Young, we've got a good rotation with Jacolby George, sorry. Now in the slot, you can focus. You can have Ray in there. You can have Brashard. You can have Restrepo. And then you can mix and match. And we know Shannon Dawson wants to go vertical, but we also know he likes to get the ball out quick. He likes to let guys play in space. Right. Who better to play in space than Tyler Harrell? I know we all know he's a deep threat, the 92-yard touchdown. We all want those, but what he also brings is turning a bubble screen into a 50-yard highlight. That stuff is going to be just vital to the offense, because that's a quarterback's best friend. For TVD, that says 50-yard touchdown. You know what I mean? So that kind of stuff, and being able to move guys around, create mismatches. Now that we've got a speedster that defenses will have to account for. You cannot stack the box. You can try, but one-on-one, I don't think many corners in the ACC really want to see Tyler Harrell just one-on-one, pure speed. That 4.2 is real, and it was 4.19 unofficial.
That's right.
You get that kind of speed, and you at least have to game plan for it. You at least have to respect it. So now Parrish is seeing a lighter box. Fletcher's seeing a lighter box. You know, the slot guys are having one-on-one mismatches with either nickel guys or linebackers, because you can't cheat your safety to help now, because you need that safety to be over the top of Tyler. I think it opens up the offense. It gives everyone a little bit more possibilities. I think he'll affect the team in other ways than stats. It's not always going to be stats. So we may see him have a game for 3 catches for 46 yards, but he cleared out the safety all game long, and Restrepo has 11 catches for $176. Like, I think he will impact the offense in a lot of different ways other than just catching bombs. But I hope he catches bombs as well.
We're only getting started here with Chalupa Batman. I want to talk about Miami's wide receiver rotation now, how Kevin Beard, the new wide receivers coach, can impact that group. And Chalupa mentioned it. I think probably the happiest guy in town right now outside of Tyler Harrell has got to be Tyler Van Dyke, okay? Keep it locked right here to Locked On Canes. You know, guys, I think Chalupa and I have both had at least one Built Bar already this morning. And if you're looking for a delicious snack, but you don't want all the sugar and calories, you've got to try the best tasting protein bar ever built. You got to try this. If you're like me and you want to make healthier snack choices, but you don't want to compromise on taste, I've got just the thing for you. Built Bars and Built Puffs. Built Bars are healthy and they taste amazing. Seriously, they taste so amazing that you won't think that they're good for you, but you got to try this. What makes Built Bars so good? Well, for starters, they're all covered in 100% real dark chocolate, and they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, cookies, and cream. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. Only 130 calories, just 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait to get a box. For years, we've been telling you about ordering your Built Bars at Built.com. Now you can also get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. You can still order your specialty flavors, by the way, at Built.com with our promo code LOCKEDON15 for 15% off. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today, or if you're close to a Sam's Club, run in, grab a 13-bar box with hit flavors like Brownie Batter Puff and Churro Puff. And you can thank us later because I love me some Built Bars. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. Thank you to the everydayers. And if you want to take your everydayerness, that's a word, to the next level, make sure you join up our exclusive SMS texting service on Subtext. I'm including a link in the show description below. I send you guys personalized. I don't have a social media intern or anything. Nobody wants to intern for me. I send these all out from my phone, 5 to 10 at least updates per day to the entire group. We do one-on-ones there as well, completely free for the first 14 days. And then if you want to opt in after 14 days, $4.99 a month. We give you a ton of added value on there. We are joined here by Chalupa Batman, my colleague at allhurricanes.com. So, Chalupa, first of all, I want to throw out kudos to Kevin Beard, Miami's new wide receivers coach. Things have been trending so positively ever since KB got back to Miami. Chance Robinson committed in the class of 2024, 4-star receiver after making a great connection with Beard. Miami has put themselves in the conversation with 5-star receiver Ryan Wingo. We'll see how that goes in the class of 2024, but the Hurricanes are trending up. And then I think the most important thing is I'm expecting the receivers who carried over from last year. I'm expecting a lot of these guys to make strides under Beard because Chalupa, people forget, with Miami's revolving door of quarterbacks last year, Miami's struggles at the offensive line, which I think is improved, if not much improved this season, and some unfortunate bad luck with injuries at wide receiver last year. I'm expecting somebody like Xavier Restrepo is going to be primed for a big year. I even wonder, like a guy like Frank Ladson, like he's probably, he's out for redemption after having, a slow debut season at Miami after transferring last year. I think Isaiah Horton is getting a lot better already under KB. So, you throw Tyler Harrell into a mix of a lot of unproven players with potential. I think this wide receiver room could really pop this year.
And competition brings out the best in everybody. So you look at a guy like Ladson and the fan base may go, oh, yeah, but we haven't seen it from him yet. But sometimes you don't know what'll kind of spark something in a young man. And sometimes a new coach, a new direction, a new philosophy can bring out the best in you. We've all seen it when a regime changes. You see guys that maybe didn't perform well under the previous regime thrive and develop better. And with Coach Kevin Beard, what do we keep hearing from all these recruits? Real. He's real. He's honest. They all seem to love him. It seems like kind of like with the offensive line, what we saw last year, where now we're in the frame for a lot of these elite offensive linemen. It seems like the elite receivers, they're at least wanting to have the conversation. The same with the pass rushers with Jason Taylor. It seemed like now that Kevin Beard is on staff, they at least want to have the conversation with him. They want to pick his brain. Because if you respect a guy like Chance, if you're another receiver on the trail, you respect Chance and you respect his game, and he tells you, you got to talk to this. You have to at least listen to this guy. Just talk. Because when you hear Chance talk, he talks about just enjoying his conversations with him. Just real everyday conversations. He doesn't even talk about, well, he told me I'd be running these routes, or he promised me I'd get 100 catches. He loved talking to him. What's the first thing he said when he got hired? He called Chance instantly. That was his first phone call. And they talk life. What I loved about what he spoke about with the freshmen coming in is he doesn't really have to break them down, but he has to show them what they're doing wrong. It's not necessarily being negative. It's kind of reverse praising. I can show you what you're doing wrong. This way I can fix it. I can't fix it if I don't tell you what you're doing wrong. So you see those videos, he's running the routes with them. He's giving them examples on the drills. He's encouraging. He is real. I think that, in this day and age, players just want someone they can relate to. They want someone they can trust. Relationship building is everything. And I think with KB, we don't have to worry about relationship building. I think that's what he does. Now you got guys like Ryan Wingo coming in, Jeray Hawkins coming in, TJ Moore. It seems like now some of these top receivers, of course, they still want to see what our offense is going to look like, but they want to watch film with Coach Kevin Beard, and they want to know, how might I fit? How do you see me fitting in this offense? Even Wingo said it. His visit this time was way different than it was last time. We can all read into what that means. It means Coach Kevin Beard is the difference. I think he was such a clutch hire, man. I absolutely love Kevin Beard. He's the man.
Well said. And, something we've talked about, we've hinted at this already. Miami's offense needed to get a lot faster. And obviously adding Tyler Harrell is going to be a big step to that, because like sometimes Chalupa, because you and I, we watch Miami so closely. We're in the weeds, and like sometimes it's hard to see the trees from the forest. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And so I have these conversations sometimes with like former football players about like what Miami was missing last year. I mean, there was a lot of things you were missing when you go 5-7, but one of the big things, like I talk a lot with Joe Rose from, morning radio in Miami, former Miami Dolphin. I talked to a couple of parents of players who like transferred in through the portal at Miami, and they kept saying like, what, like last year and in recent years, like they just don't have much speed on the field. Like a couple of years ago, Charleston Rambo, that was a guy who was, a game breaker for Miami, but these, last year they didn't have really any sort of game breaking speed. So now you add a Tyler Harrell, and you've got someone like Ray Joseph and Robby Washington as true freshmen. So, hopefully it's a multi-year thing for guys like that. And Chris Johnson, who's got certified track speed at running back.
Oh, yeah.
So, the Miami Hurricanes, they're trying to look a little bit more like the Miami Dolphins with all that speed, because speed really kills.
And I think that's our identity, right? It's weird it's even weird to have a conversation saying that we need speed at Miami. It just feels weird to have to say out loud. But I think with Cristobal, that's his thing. You have to address the elephants in the room. We needed to get better on the offensive line. Coordinators didn't work out last year. Sometimes you have to say these uncomfortable things, and you have to fix these uncomfortable things. Look at it, Hellcat, bringing in a guy like Hellcat this year in the class.
Right.
Speed. We got to get faster. Again, you have to give defenses something that they fear. The defensive coordinators need to at least respect our speed. Last year, they probably didn't respect our speed as much, so the safeties start cheating down. It becomes harder to run. Those short intermediate passes, they're harder to do because now the box is full. It's easy for safeties to now drive on a slant because he's only 7 yards off the ball because he's not worried about somebody beating him deep. Now, if you play in the box this year, Ray or Harrell will make you pay. You will at least have to respect that threat. And then, like you said, you got a guy like Chris Johnson that you can mix in. An all-speed package would just be insane. I want to see a race. I want to see Chris Johnson, Ja'Cory Brown, let's get Ray Joseph, and Tyler Harrell on a line, and I want to see them race. We may have the fastest 40 at the combine next year.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout. Okay, and so last thing here in this Tyler Harrell conversation, because Tyler Harrell, most recently an Alabama wide receiver, transfers from Alabama to Miami. He's also played at Louisville. He's a Columbus High School Miami native, so welcome back home to him. What does this mean for another wide receiver target, right? Because someone that Chalupa and I both really like, junior college wide receiver Shamar Kirk, who I think he's announcing today. There was like another thing on 24/7 that says he might be announcing on the 17th, but I think he's announcing today after his commencement at Reedley College. Does Tyler Harrell arriving at Miami, does that mean that Shamar Kirk is no longer a take? Short answer is I don't know, but the longer answer is I get the sense that this doesn't necessarily mean that there's not still a spot for Shamar Kirk. Now, I don't know if this might influence Kirk's decision in thinking, hey, maybe now that Harrell's going there, maybe they don't need me as much. I might be needed somewhere else. But I don't think that Harrell coming necessarily rules out Shamar Kirk. So we're going to have to wait and see on this one. And Chalupa, we were talking off air a little bit, and you can expand on that. I think there could definitely be a role for both of these guys because they're not really redundant, Harrell and Kirk.
They're receivers, but they play a different style of offense. So Kirk is a vertical guy. He's another guy that can definitely take the top off of defense. He's got lightning speed, but he does run a bit more of a full route tree. When you see him, you do see him doing the dirty work in between the hashes, and where he really excels is the short stuff. He really excels with the ball in his hands. For a long guy, it's really not normal, but he's dynamite after the catch. He's shifty, makes guys miss. So I think he's a little bit of a different receiver than Harrell. I think there is still space for Kirk. Whether Kirk still feels that way, that's still up in the air. But since he was just at the campus, I would imagine when they were speaking to him, they probably informed him that, hey, there's still another guy we may bring in. But I don't think bringing in Harrell means that there isn't a spot for Kirk. I think Kirk still fills a different role for us on the outside. I think he's more of a full 1 through 10 route tree kind of guy. More of that Colby Young versus the speedster on the other side. So I think Kirk still has a place in this offense. He seemed to love his visit here. Fingers are still crossed there because you can never have too many. We want as many personnel groups as we can have. We want to give defenses as many different looks. We don't want you to be able to game plan for us. So adding a guy like Kirk could still be huge. I'm kind of hoping he still wants to come here. He loved his time here. He seemed to just be glowing about it. So we've still got our fingers crossed for Kirk.
Absolutely. And huge shout out and thank you to Chalupa Batman, who not only is a colleague of mine at allhurricanes.com, but he's also a big part of the You Heard podcast. My buddies Ben and Joe. Let people know what you got going on there, Chalupa, and when the next episode's going to be.
So the next episode will be we just released one on Wednesday. They're usually every Wednesday and Monday. They drop first thing in the morning, so they're there for your ride in. I run the social media over there, and I jump on the podcast from time to time. If you haven't checked it out, do it. It's guys having just honest, genuine conversation about Miami. It's a great show. Yeah. We have a saying: we don't do the show before the show. We give ourselves topics. We go on the show, and what you get is honestly our honest opinions, our honest answers. Ben and Joe, they've got passion for the Canes that is like kind of unmatched. Like even in our group chats, like it's a constant throwing of ideas and are we going to sign this guy? How this guy would fit. So if you're a Canes fan, check it out. I'm pretty sure you'd enjoy it. Most people here, Benny's probably in the live chat right now as this is airing. So it's a lot of fun over there. It's a lot of fun working with all Hurricanes. It's a blast, man. It's pinch me moments a lot of times. It's fun. I absolutely love it. Shout out to Donno, obviously, and everyone in the chat. Absolutely love you guys. It's been a blessing hanging out with all you. It's really fun.
That's great. And make sure everyone follows CB on Twitter at Corey Carmona. You're going to be happy you did, because if you like the Canes, he's going to load your timeline with Canes content and with Elizabeth Olsen pictures.
Two things. Yes. Two things. It's the other day too. I had a coach follow me, a Miami coach follow me. And me and you were talking about it. I was like, well, that's cool, but I hope he's ready for some Elizabeth Olsen because it's going to get really
Too funny, man. Too funny. Thanks everyone for tuning in, especially on a Saturday. I think we're going to do a Sunday drop as well. It's just why stop? I mean, there's so many good vibes at Miami. Why would we stop doing episodes? We'll talk to you guys next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.